the November 5th Public Service Commission meeting. First thing we have is the reading of the meeting minutes of October 15th. Are there any corrections or changes to the meeting minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes of the prior meeting as presented.
Second.
Not as really part of the discussion, but Commissioner Correa is not going to be on the Zoom, right?
Correct. I believe Commissioner Conaway is, however.
Commissioner Conaway?
We have a quorum regardless, so.
Thank you for that advice, Mr. Hartigan. Mama told me there would be days like this. Okay, no discussion, I understand. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And there appears to be two commissioners absent at this time, although I'm sure Commissioner Conaway is trying her best to get on the phone with us. Next will be the public comment. Is there anyone here that wishes to make public comment to the Public Service Commission? No one has responded, and the next thing on the calendar is a exciting presentation from Delmarva Power and Light, and so we'll let you guys kick it off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, Brian Jordan on behalf of Delmarva Power and Light Company. We do have a slideshow that we have to show to the commission, but I am happy to be joined here today by some new faces and some familiar faces. But before I get into the introductions, I did want to make an announcement to Commissioner Gray and Chair Winslow. Commissioner Gray is a constituent of the Brandywine School District community, and Chair Winslow as an alum of Brandywine. The boys soccer team advanced to the second round of the soccer playoffs with a win last night, 4-0. So very exciting for us in the Brandywine District. They beat Aspira Academy. They play Sanford on Saturday, and then Concord is number 2. They're playing Tower Hill.
Mr. Jordan, are you a coach?
I am an enthusiastic supporter. I help coach their younger development teams, but
Thank you for that information.
absolutely. So today, though, I do have the pleasure, as I mentioned, of introducing some familiar faces and some new faces. First, Tyler Anthony, Pepco Holdings President and CEO. Next, Jacqueline Cantler, Pepco Holdings Senior Vice President of Governmental, Regulatory, and External Affairs. And Marcus Beal, Delmarva Power Region President. And this leadership team is here today to provide you with updates from Exelon, Pepco Holdings, and Delmarva Power. And so with this presentation, we plan to provide the commission with key updates and areas of focus across our Delaware service territory. And I know our speakers are looking forward to any questions that the commissioners may have at the end of the presentation. So if we have the slide show available. And if we could go to the next slide, please. Back one more. There we go. That's it. Thank you. So as you can see, commissioners, we've got today's agenda on the screen, and it's going to start with an overview of Exelon, Pepco, and Delmarva's strategy before we transition to providing the commission with an update on how Delmarva Power is addressing affordability concerns for our customers and neighbors. And then lastly, the speakers will provide a broad update on the initiatives from Delmarva Power. Now, with that said, I will turn the presentation over to Mr. Anthony.
Thank you. Am I coming through clear? Got through clear? Sound okay? Okay. Well, I'll start by just saying thank you, Chair, Commissioners, Public Advocate. You know, I'm reaching my 10th year now as the leader now of Delmarva Power, and it's been a journey, and we've had quite a bit of change in reference to our work here and what's happening in the industry and on the grid. So the way I thought I would handle my entry comments today is really just four key areas. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to do some introductions. about some of the personnel promotions and changes that we've had. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the status of the company, and we'll talk a little bit about interrelationship with Exelon. And then I'm going to spend the majority of my upfront time in two critical areas. You had heard about affordability, which is front and center on everybody's mind. So I'd like to take that on directly and talk to the commission about what our approach is around affordability for our customers. And then two, I think it's important that I also talk a little bit about the grid health, and what I'll use the term, the resource adequacy of the grid, of what we're seeing here in the state of Delaware, as well as the broader PJM, because I think it brings to mind some of the concerns and some of the things that we're working on. And then I'll turn it over to my colleagues to go a little bit more in depth in some of our customer work and some of our community work. Okay? So in starting here for introductions, you can see on slide 3, we can go to the next slide. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay, thank you. But I'm joined by two residents of Delaware. In fact, I have Jacqueline Cantler to my right as our Senior Vice President of Government Regulatory External Affairs. Jacqueline's been a resident in Delaware here since 2004. She's an engineer by trade and background, and she's run several different divisions at Pepco Holdings and different Exelon positions throughout her career. And in her new role here, she's responsible for those different aspects external to our business as it pertains to different items like economic development, some of the different things that we'll talk about. But really pleased to present her to the commission here for the first time in her new role. And then Marcus Beal, who also received a recent promotion to the regional president. And Marcus also here grew up, I believe, in Newark. And as I was reading his bio, I think one of his original jobs in Newark was selling the original computers to people. So there's a long history here with Marcus and some of the different folks as well. But what I'm proud to say is that by having local residents, they understand the culture, they understand the communities, and they're here full time in order to support the efforts of the utility as well as our customers. Okay. And as I move into a little bit of a status of the company, I mentioned the fact that I've been here for 10 years. And as the CEO, I judge our performance, frankly, in 3 key areas. One is, are we providing the value proposition to the people to the customers and residents that we're charged to serve? So are we providing our value statement? 2 is, are we making the community better because we're here? And then 3, do we reflect the people that we serve from an aggregate standpoint of the population we serve? Do we look like the people we serve? So those are the 3 areas that I frankly kind of gauge us to. And I mentioned, being here 10 years ago, and back, it wasn't that long ago in 2012, I came in 2016, where, the Washington Post had issued an article about us being the worst utility in the United States. And then we had another article by the Washington Times that said that Pepco Holdings was the worst company in the United States back in 2016 due to our reliability and the different performance issues. I'm pleased to inform the commission, back then we were 24th out of 27th in the United States on reliability. We just recently got our EEI index numbers for like-size utilities in the United States, and we're now 2nd. And I couldn't do that without the partnerships that we have with the commission and others, but it's a recognition of the work that we've done together over a period of time. And then when we think about cost, and the importance of keeping customers' bills as low as possible. During the majority of that time, we've been able to keep our operating and maintenance expense increases less than 1.5% over the last several years. Our ability to continue to do that with some of the impacts we're seeing on tariffs and some of the commodity price increases, it's always under challenge. But what I'll say to the commission, there's no decision that we make that doesn't answer 2 fundamental questions. What's the customer benefit and what's the affordability? Did a review of the larger projects that went in service. I'll hit a few of them in my comments, but but you're always under that constant balance of what the system needs, what you're trying to replace, and balancing that with the impact on customers' bills. But from an overall performance standpoint, it's a pleasure to be here after 10 years and kind of give the commission some of those statistics about our performance.
Mr. Chairman, if there's someone on Zoom, can you please mute your equipment until you're ready to speak? Because we can hear the noise in the background.
Commissioner Conaway, are you on now? Please proceed. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, so I continue?
Please.
Okay, so I'll move into my two sections. So let's first talk affordability. The way that we look at affordability, frankly, and our role in that is really in four key areas that we're focused on. The first area has to deal with supply and PJM. When it comes to the influence that we have as Delmarva Power and then being a broader part of the Exelon family of companies, we have quite a seat at the table, if you will, at PJM. Some of the most recent items that we've been involved with is the issues with FERC and the behind the meter questions with data centers as to whether data centers need to pay for grid services when they hook on. We had the issue up in Pennsylvania with data center trying to get in behind the meter and what that looks like. We felt it important to take an active role that when we have increased heavy and dense load in our different jurisdictions, that they're paying appropriate dollars toward and in support of the grid. In addition, environmental concerns, et cetera. So trying to take a leadership role in the federal determinations around the importance of supply with PJM. In addition, when you think about supply as a data point here in Delaware, right now we have over 100 projects, either starting, midway, or in production that will support an additional 200 megawatts in the state. One of the things that we feel very strongly on is that economic development, whether it's through new load or through new businesses, what we're trying to do is to bring those resources online as quick as we can. We've done several items behind the scenes to make those different developers have opportunities, key stakeholders, et cetera, working with the top developers to get as much of that installed as permits and that the state requests of us. In addition, we have also been involved with the PJM on RMR reforms, where whether it's must-run units and how they're taken into the PJM auction. And I had a couple of numbers here that were a little astonishing to me when you look at capacity prices. Basically, we went from 2 years ago, the PJM, which is the 13 states supporting electricity for 65 million people, total capacity charges went from 2.2 billion to 14.7 billion. And last year's most recent auction with the collar, it went up to 16.2 billion, essentially over a 600% increase in the price of power that our residents are seeing. And when you think about what we're paying for, it's kind of a disappointment to me that we're making all those additional payments, and what are our customers getting for that money just because of the additional demand on the system. Okay, so from back to the original affordability, this first one is, what are you doing on supply? Bring resources on, reforms, how are you managing protection of customers through data centers? We have things like TSA agreements and some of the working groups that we're working on with here about how we're protecting our customers from those that are serious about implementation versus not. The second of the four areas has to deal with customer. This is one where a kilowatt not used is the best kilowatt. So this is, if you guys have had experience with our My Account, when you think about what we're doing with our different websites, our landing pages, we have a series of things where we'll come out to the home and do energy audits. But this is about the customer being more informed and having opportunity. If you look at the My Account, where we'll send you what you used last week, what you're using, how much on a daily basis, this is about trying to inform our customers to take as active of a role as they would like in managing their energy costs. I'll call that the second area, and Jacqueline's going to hit on that as well. And then I mentioned the internal cost. I mentioned the O&M numbers. This is one where, you know, when it comes to these projects, we're always asking ourselves whether we're leveraging the scale of Exelon on things like buying distribution transformers, poles, or cables, how we're leveraging that, or how we're aggregating different projects to drive costs down. It's front and center in our minds about managing our internal costs. And then last and foremost is, I'll call it the last and fourth and final category has to do with regulation and legislation. This is what we're trying to do. You know, Commissioner Gray's always been advocate of the community solar, what we're doing around low-income programs, how we're trying to perform different policies and rate making to help low-income families. And what I'll say to there is, and then on top of that, you know, the executive committee of Exelon sat back and said, you know, what more can we do, and created that $50 million relief fund. That several million dollars came here. Working with Governor Meyer, we came out with that program in order to try to help low to middle income individuals. What I liked about the program was sometimes the federal poverty rate kind of, those folks that are just above the level of federal poverty sometimes don't get the opportunity to take advantage of some of the different opportunities to get resources. So this program actually does that. So just another small way to say, are we helping our customers in what we're going through right now? So whether it's supply, customer, internal cost, or legislation and regulatorily, what more can we do together? Okay. And then my last and final area, I thought it would be important to kind of give the commission a sense of the grid right now and what's happening with resources. And I'll give a data point. I'll give a couple of points on data centers. So right now, when you think about PJM, right now the 13 states are forecasting the need of 32 gigawatts here by 2030. And to give everyone a sense of what a gigawatt is, that's about 750, 800,000 residential homes worth of power. So when you think about that timeline of 2030 PJM, 32 gigawatts, it's pretty, I'll say significant, if you will. Currently, just in the 3 utilities that I'm responsible for, including Delmarva, I have just under 30 active projects with 10 gigawatts of load. And it's somewhat daunting, the amount of interest from the hyperscalers and what we're starting to see just in the PJM footprint, if you will. One of the things that was of interest to me is I had a discussion with the PJM leadership. And if I have my numbers right, I may have had them backwards, but it's something to the effect of, in the last 10 years, the PJM system has called an emergency rating due to shrinking capacity margins. They had 11 in 10 years, and we've had 9 in the last 7 months. And that most notably came to fruition this summer, where when you think of Brandon Shores, the last fossil plants in the state of Maryland lost a substation in August of this year, and 20,000 customers had to be proactively taken out of power. And if it would have been 5 or 6 degrees hotter, we would have taken offline over 200,000 customers. So just that significance. And when you look at the states just in our general area, back in 2012 in Atlantic City Electric, we took off the last 2 fossil plants in Logan and Chambers. Then you moved over here. We worked with you guys on taking Indian River off last year. We tried to get that east-west line completed early so our customers didn't have to pay the RMR perms. And then the announcement in Maryland with Brandon Shores wanting to retire, now an RMR unit. And then the District of Columbia imports 100% of their power. So when you kind of take it all into account, the prices, the demand increases, the data centers, and then you look at these states that we're contiguous with are all importing greater than 40% of their power currently. So we also feel an accountability to that about what role we can do to help instill. I mentioned the power that we're trying to get on with developers that have it in the queue, and we're trying to work with different legislators, regulators on what do we do to get more power on the grid with some sense of urgency, and how do we play that, and what does that look like? I'll give you another data point on distribution energy resources. Across the states of New Jersey, Maryland, and Delaware, we have a little over 2 gig of installed solar. on the hottest August day right now, we're getting about 28%. We're getting about 28% benefit out of that on the hottest August day. One of the things that would help us make that dispatchable is battery systems in the right locations. Can that take some of the breath off of some of these capacity prices we're seeing and some of the different pieces we're seeing? So in conclusion, and I'll turn it over to Jacqueline, the takeaways I have for the commission is couldn't do it without the partnerships. It's an honor to be here after 10 years in front of you guys yet again. It's an honor to be here. We've tried to be a very good steward to the community, as well as we've tried to be a good steward of the commitment we make to customers locally, and then how we're balancing all of that. And then when you look forward on what we have in front of us, whether it's the affordability or resource adequacy, we'll do everything within my power and the power of the company to try to continue to drive solutions that keep that bill low and keep the benefits to the customer about the commodity we support. Okay, so with that, I'll turn it over to Jacqueline.
Can I ask a question before you do that? You know, years ago, I sat here and they announced that the trail and map lines were going to be cut because of a lack of demand. The supply was way outside of the, way ahead of demand. And then I said, well, the map was going to be a tremendous assistance to the state of Delaware.
Yeah.
So what's the story? Is there any talk about them being revitalized?
The answer is yes. The answer is it's front and center right now in many conversations. Yes, yes, Chair. I just want them to make a decision and get something moving. I'll give you an example. Like we all had hoped, well, I'll say for myself, I had hoped that the offshore winds were going to come in New Jersey and Maryland. The state of Maryland passed the first solicitation for offshore wind back in 2017. We haven't been able to get that built. Then we had all of the benefits of 11 gigawatts being planned from an environmental standpoint in the state of New Jersey. And you guys all kind of read the different national articles about it, but there's a question, when and if will that be built? So, and back to your MAP project, it's another one where whether it's the needed transmission lines that we need in our different jurisdictions and you know what you go through trying to understand the need and the benefit and then the approval with the necessary permitting, whether it's the power plants that I'm talking about. So the way I'm looking at it, Chair, is this. I'm looking at it where in the PJM queue for new generation, it's 95% renewables. So what we've got back and said is, look, if there's something in the queue and it's approved, let's go out of our way to try to get that resource on grid. Let's get that resource, because I'm all of the above, of the opinion of all of the above. Are there some of these generating sources that we can keep on longer? You know, where does the state want to be as a part of that? Can we get anything more capacity out of it? You know, and then I had mentioned these battery systems. I think in the short term, I think battery systems could help us significantly in certain locations in different states. And I think the MAP project laid some of that out, Dallas. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Gray.
Thank you very much. I do have one question where you mentioned 100 projects to support additional 200 megawatts. That's in the state of Delaware? Yes, no?
That's correct.
And are those projects focused primarily on transmission, distribution, generation, or all of the above?
Yeah, all of the above, primarily renewables.
So I serve on OPSI, and we spend a lot of time with PJM, talking mostly now about a critical issue, fast path, getting those resources online, about capacity, resource capacity all the time, and data centers and their impact. So we're hearing a lot about data centers. We know in Virginia, there are 81 data centers. You know, they have whatever kind
Largest
of generation.
in the U.S. right now.
Right, but we're an importer like DC. So because we're such a small state, any impact of a data center is going to be greater than it is on the grid in, say, Virginia or Pennsylvania, some of the other PJM states. And we're talking about a data center in Delaware. It's, you know, it's been in the news every day. When you listen to the market monitor for PJM, in his opinion, if you don't have co-location of generation for your data center, then don't put up a data center. He said that is the only way there will be sufficient power and resource adequacy and pricing that it will be sustainable. And my understanding is that this new data center, the developer has indicated that there will be no co-location and it will be served by the existing grid. Knowing that we had to run under an RMR last year, how will we serve that size data center with our existing grid, even with those megawatts that Commissioner Gray just talked about adding? How is that going to happen? And I will say additionally, we've had a presentation recently by PJM indicating that new resources in Delaware are primarily renewable, including wind. Well, that was the 2024 report, but that wind isn't, and that wasn't even our project, that was Maryland's project. However, as you know, those projects are in limbo right now. So how do we serve that? How do we maintain a pricing that's affordable for Delawareans and put up a big data center in Delaware, like with no co-location of generation that is in front of the meter, not behind the meter, but in front of the meter?
It's a great question. It's a great question. And how do I answer it succinctly? Because everyone has an opinion, and then there's the factual data of the grid and what it can handle. In some arguments, I'll give you two. In some arguments, you would say, you put a 1 gigawatt data center. I had the benefit of having dinner with Amazon's lead of data centers here in Chicago a few weeks ago. And he probably won't have dinner with me ever again because it was 2 hours of questions. But in any case, a couple takeaways I had from the conversation with him directly was, if you have a 1 gigawatt data center, and you can't quote me on the numbers, this was just a passing conversation. It went something to the argument that we build a 1 gigawatt data center, the payment of $100 million annually in real estate taxes is a commitment they're willing to make. So when you think about the benefit to a community on something like that, I think, wow, terrific. Then when you think about, they talk about 1,000 jobs for a period of 10 years until the build out of the data center is done, high paying jobs, then I think, great. But I had the same concern as you, but like what I do when we're connecting data centers, I have a 1 gigawatt going in Prince George's. We just had a call last night. We have a 300 gigawatt data center in Vineland, New Jersey going in that's constructed right now that they're bringing their own power. So I have both going on right now. And what we do with our different agreements and our TSA is we say to them, I have to protect any investment I make to hook that data center up that the customers won't feel that impact. Let's say the data center says, I want a gig. What if they only use 300? What if they go out of business? And I have some big investment that I've put into the grid that now I'm going to ask customers to pay for. So we're doing these TSA lines of credit commitments that says, you'll give us the load profile, you'll tell us how much power you're going to use by when, and you'll secure credit that if it doesn't come to fruition, you have to pay for what you don't deliver. So we try, like say, for example, a 10-year commitment on load, and what does that look like to protect our customers? And then on top of that, and if you don't, we have these lines of credit and legal things done in order to protect them. Now, when it comes to the grid and power, so we're doing things to protect them from the investment. Now you talk about the capacity and supply side. It's an interesting thought. So let's say up in Starwood, or let's say up in Delaware, up in Newark, we don't do the data center. Well, if they just go 30 miles into Pennsylvania, they're getting the power from the same grid, and now we're not going to get any of the economic benefit. So I think it depends on location. It depends on a lot of different pieces, but I can't sit here and say, by putting that data center in, will it increase your supply charge of your bill? You can't say no. It may be a yes, but you're making inference that if they build that data center one state over, are they still going to take power from the same grid?
And
I apologize if that was like
it's interesting that they're mentioning that there are obviously economic benefits when they're building in your state or in any state. And I did reach out to Virginia and ask them, the commissioners there, what is the benefit that you have of these data centers in your state in terms of what you're talking about, the property tax, the taxes that those buildings, and that they pay. And she said, well, they don't really pay that because we gave them so many concessions that it's really a wash. So, we're talking about all these wonderful economic, like here comes all the money, Delaware. But if these concessions are being made, you don't actually have that benefit.
Where's the benefit?
Where's the benefit? And of course, you know, stranded assets is the second one you talked about, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, when we're asking somebody to do a secure credit of $1 billion, like we're saying to ourselves, there's no way we're going to put risk onto our customers. Okay, I apologize if I went long, Chair. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Once again, I'm Jacqueline Cantler. Just by way of introduction, Tyler did a nice job of kind of highlighting my connection to Delaware. I have been with Pepco Holdings for 24 years. I am one of the few, other than my colleague right next to me, that started as an intern and just never left. So I have just a ton of pride and passion for what we do. And I was here when Tyler first came to the company, and also here, obviously, when we had that poor reputation. And so Tyler doesn't give himself a lot of credit or enough credit, but he was very instrumental in turning the reputation, the reliability. And what I always think about is the partnership around. I can remember when I first became an executive in the company, and Tyler would always say, "Who have you had a coffee with? Who have you met with?" So when he underscores partnership, he really lives it and expects all of us as leaders to live it. And I think the chair, the commission, the folks that have engaged with Tyler probably know that. That wasn't part of my script. I just felt compelled to share that information as Tyler went through the history there. The role that I have now, I've spent all of those 24 years primarily in engineering and operations. And I was chatting with Commissioner Gray when I introduced myself today, and he said, "Were you based out of DC in your last role?" And I was based out of DC, but I've lived in Delaware, as Tyler said, for the last 20 plus years. And so now having this role that's very much Delaware focused, it's really nice to be able to come back home. And part of the job that I have now is that I'm out in the community a lot. Marcus and I, it's pretty much every night that we're out engaging with customers, with our local nonprofits, with business owners. And the number one question that we get asked is around affordability. And what are we doing from an affordability perspective? And so we talk and we think a lot about that. It's a real challenge. You know, my husband is a small business owner here. Like I said, I've lived here for many, many years, not isolated to Delaware. This is a challenge, you know, that spreads beyond Delaware. And we're all pretty much accustomed to the supply and demand conversation that Tyler just entertained. I think when I talk internally with our folks around affordability, it's important to understand we can't solve all of it. And so we have to take the time to think about what are the things at Delmarva Power that we actually can control, and let's put our energy into those things. And so if you look at the next slide, I won't focus too much on the text that's on this slide, but I really want to spend a lot of the energy that we have and the power that we have to really figure out how can we mitigate some of the challenges around affordability. Like I said, we can't solve all of it because it's a larger problem than us, but there are things that we can put some deliberate energy into to be a part of the solution. We talked a little bit around supply and demand. We've got some pretty creative, smart folks that work at our company beyond just Delmarva Power. We have the whole breadth of Exelon that we collaborate with. And so we really believe that there's an opportunity for us to play in the space of perhaps helping with the supply issue. And when we talk about helping with the supply issue, we think that that has to include all of the above. Tyler talked about all of the renewables that are queued up. We chatted with Chair Winslow a couple of weeks ago at a conference around it is a challenge for Delaware maybe to invest in generation, and we just had that conversation because the population here is not significant. But I do think, you know, there are spaces where we've got land, we've got potential ideas, and we want to have a seat at the table to come and put solutions forward from a supply and demand perspective. And so we're spending some time on what could that possibly look like. The other area that we can control as well is making sure that we're optimizing and doing things efficiently. So also as part of Exelon, we have the opportunity where if we're not doing something in the best manner at Delmarva Power, we can look to what is Atlantic City Electric doing? What is ComEd in Chicago doing? And so we're constantly challenging ourselves to understand where can we drive operational efficiencies. And we actually have a specific effort that's been going on probably for about 2 years now to really capitalize on how can we become the most operationally efficient utility. And so that's going to drive down costs in and of itself as well. The other area that we can also control is really focusing on the customers that need our assistance the most. And so what you're going to see when we tee up our electric base rate case is that we will include a low to moderate income discount rate within that base rate case. And I know that's something that's been talked about for quite some time. So I'm very excited to actually bring that before the commission so that we can really put some emphasis on helping some of our most in need customers. The other area where we believe that we can help some of our most in need customers is you heard Tyler talk about some of the generation that's queued up. A lot of that is in the community solar space. And so it's our responsibility to make sure we're bringing those projects online expeditiously, and also that those subscriptions are supporting low and moderate income folks. So you're going to see some energy around that as we move forward, the partnership that Marcus and I and all of you have. I also want to make sure that we understand that a component of affordability is really helping our customers and the public understand their role and responsibility. So we've got a decent amount of programs like energy efficiency and things where you can control your usage within your home. Some folks are uneducated about that. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we are getting out, we are bringing these resources to the public, so much so that we've got online opportunities. We host actual virtual office hours where people can sign up 30 minutes with somebody online. We'll walk you through how to understand your bill, how to navigate our website, what opportunities there are for you to possibly participate in our customer relief fund, which Marcus will talk about. But if you don't have the access to do it virtually, we're also coming to you. We just recently had an example that we shared on Monday night at our leadership team meeting where our customer operations team went on site to a community that's primarily senior citizens. And we went and brought our mobile van to them and had folks from customer, folks from government regulatory affairs, operations, speaking with this community, walking them through, this is what everything means on your bill. This is how you can sign up for the Customer Relief Fund. So we're meeting people where they are to help them take control of their energy use and really to let people know what is available to them. Because I think that's one of the things that we miss the mark on sometimes is that we do a lot of great things, but we're not getting them down to everybody in the community. So whether you prefer to meet with us virtually, we've got that. Whether you want us to come to you, we've got that. The other area that we're focused on from an affordability perspective, and I'll double down on what I just said, is really on communicating. So I mentioned I've been with the company for 24 years. The majority of that has been in operations and engineering. So the space that I'm in right now is a very new space, but it's extremely enjoyable. And I'm working to bring that operations and engineering experience over to this part of the organization. So when Tyler talks about some of the investments that we've made in our system, I don't know that we really explain the value that those investments materialize into. And I was recently doing some research, and in fact, I think it was 2017 to 2024, on average, we've reinvested 76% essentially of our earnings back into the system. And so that's what drives that reliability improvement that Tyler talked about. And so part of my goal is really going to be making that real for the folks in our community so that they understand where these investments are going and what they're essentially doing. Telling our story a little bit better than maybe we have in the past. The other item that I'll kind of close out with from an affordability perspective is if you've heard anything about Exelon, you know we like to measure everything. And so if we're not measuring and getting some sort of result, we probably need to take a look and stop doing certain things. So from a measurement perspective, you can see on the right-hand side, this is just one of our statistics around the impact of some of our low-income programs and the number of folks that they have touched. The other thing that we're going to do, Jameson and I were just chatting. We had the opportunity both to speak at Leadership Delaware on the same day. As I was leaving, he was coming in, and I said, those folks really challenged us. You know, if you talk about affordability in my bill, I opened it up and said, ask me any question you want. I'll do my best to answer it. And they were rapid fire, which told me that they were very inquisitive. And that's a demonstration of how the rest of the public feels. And so what we're also doing, and one question that a young woman asked me is, how can I give feedback? Like, I appreciate everything that you're saying, but how can I give Delmarva Power feedback? And so we're standing up a community advisory council where we are going to have a handful of folks from different organizations within Delaware where we will meet with regularly, and they will be a representation of being able to give us feedback. This is working, this is not working, things that we're thinking about implementing. Instead of just forging forward with it, we will leverage this group to kind of be the voices of the public to give us some feedback before we move forward with things. So I'm extremely excited about that. And that's just another area where we can kind of try and measure and make sure that we're getting the results that we want. I know I've probably gone over a little bit of time, but I did just want to double down on some of the comments that Tyler made. Understanding affordability is at the forefront of what we're all talking about. We're all trying to solve it. We won't solve it 100%, but as a large corporation in the state, there are certain things that we can do to help be a part of the solution. And so I appreciate, the opportunity to be here, present before you. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I know Marcus is going to talk a little bit more about some of the specific operational and data-driven things that we've got going on.
Ms. Cantler, this is Commissioner Joanne Conaway. I just want to thank you for all of your efforts to educate people how to save power and how to save cost.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, are any of the potential or existing or in place federal cuts, how are they affecting you as Delmarva in your attempts to help low-income people?
Yeah, so I will say, and I know Tyler's passionate about this as well, our biggest impact and what we've really been focused on is making sure that we are supporting some of the displaced workers. That's been a real big focus area for us. And so we have earmarked funds, we've had workshops, we're doing everything that we can from that perspective. And then, from an initial funding perspective, we have the Customer Relief Fund that was a $50 million fund that was stood up by Exelon, $4.5 million here in Delaware, that for folks, that maybe cannot pay their electric bill, they can actually sign up and get a $300 bill credit. So we're continuing to make the investment, whether it's workforce, whether it's funding, whether it's getting out and volunteering and donating. At Delmarva Power, we didn't necessarily have a ton of federal funding that we were relying on. So that impact has been pretty minimal. But we are doing what we can from a federally displaced worker perspective.
I think, Commissioner, one of the areas that we're watching closely is LIHEAP. They had done away with the department. Funds for the rest of this year were issued. So we're just watching it closely because that's one of the best programs that we have to help. And I also mentioned a concern area I have is those ones that are just above being qualifying for something. What Jacqueline mentioned, we're trying to make it where a family of four making somewhere between 115 and 130,000 or less can still qualify. And then with the federal workers, even though they've missed a few checks, can we get them in sooner and have some less formality on what it takes to qualify to help them, because they're just hitting the need now versus waiting until they're disconnected, as an example.
Thank you, Commissioner Drexler. I was going to ask about the LIHEAP program, the response. I just want to, in two areas, thanks very much for the community outreach. I've seen Mr. Beal in with the Wilmington community with all of your colleagues who are helping to explain the customer's bills and what are some of the relief options that they can pursue. And thanks for the Exelon Relief Fund. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Candler, which school district do you live in?
So I'm in Red Clay.
So we got Newark, we got Brandywine, and we got Red Clay. I guess the point being that, you know, we're all in it together, regardless of where we might be living. Of course, I'm a deck person myself, so I guess I'm not in it with you, but I am in the sense that I certainly care and we're doing our best to help out. Roland, and I noticed you, although we didn't want to be in it necessarily, I guess now we're going to be responsible with the the public advocate. If the energy security and rising supply costs continue to go up, we'll be sharing some of that partnership with you, I guess. We already have done so, and we frankly are going to keep on accepting responsibility and trying to help and assist in terms of.
We've even done, Dallas, we've even done things like waive any overt, like interest charges, give you up to 24-month on paybacks, like anything within our control to help, we've been trying to do.
Looks like we're going to have to be helping out as much as possible for the immediate future. Mr. Beal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline and Tyler. Commission. My name is Marcus Beal again. It's an honor. I'll echo Tyler's words. It's truly an honor to be here before you today as somebody that's grown up in the state of Delaware, really grown up in the company. So I've been at a number of commission events over the years, usually sitting and listening and observing. And it's great to be able to present to you about the company that I've known really my entire life. And again, you all are not strangers to me. Commissioner Gray, I see out in the community all the time, sometimes unannounced, that we'll be talking to customers and he'll pop up and you're like, oh my goodness, Commissioner's right here. But others as well, you know, we see you at industry events, you're out and about in the community. DPA, Jameson Tweedy, you know, he's out on the ground, you know, working, you know, side by side with us at times. So, you know, great partnership, and again, just an honor to be here. I have the pleasure of beginning with and talking about our customer experience. I'll also be talking a bit about our impact in Delaware. I'll touch on the Customer Relief Fund. We'll chat a little bit about economic development, community solar, which is a hot topic, of course, in Delaware. We'll chat a little bit about our energy efficiency programs, our operational performance, which, you know, again, Tyler does not get enough credit for what we've done to turn this company around from, you know, at one time voted the most hated, which with significant operational issues, to now, as he mentioned, second, right? I mean, it's a great accomplishment. We'll talk about a little bit of safety as well, and then we'll close out. I'll start with slide 10 here. Talk a little about our newest program, so our Count on Us campaign. And really, this campaign is just showcasing resources for bill support. So that includes financial assistance, energy-saving tools, and programs that help our customers manage their energy use. This also highlights our responsible investments in modernizing the energy grid. We are doing a lot of this work. It's data-driven, so we're using local proof points to spotlight customer benefits and tangible support. It was shaped by insights from our customers. We host customer focus groups and actually listen. We had a number of online panels. We conduct a lot of research. As Jacqueline mentioned, you know, we're a family of companies with Exelon, so we lean on each other for best practices. So we do rely on research across many areas to help inform our efforts in Delaware. And then, of course, our external partners like EEI, Industry Broad, where we can also leverage a lot of the learnings there. Our Count on Us campaign was launched in 2 phases. The first was digital and print. The second, TV, radio. And if you're an Eagles fan, you may have seen us during some of our NFL games recently. We are advertising on those NFL spots. And then I didn't want to move on without mentioning that mobile assistance van. That's one of our newer tools. It's on the go customer assistance. It's been a big hit for our customers that sometimes cannot get out of their communities. We did recently hold an event last week at the Resurrection Center in Wilmington with over 300 customers that were able to sign up for our customer relief fund, which I'll talk about later. But definitely, an innovative tool and one that makes it easier for our customers to get assistance. Talking about customer care, we're also leveraging technology, generative AI. We are leveraging that in our call center processes. Empathy training. So, we're all customers. And then all of our stakeholders are customers. And our employees are often customers, as the three of us are. So our empathy training initiative really is designed to embed empathy into the culture of our customer service representatives. I don't have to tell anybody, we're living through challenging times financially, right? So we want to make sure that as many of our CSRs, our customer service representatives, our members, we're trying to make sure that they are sharing their weekly empathy tips. They're doing videos through our learning platforms. We're utilizing daily briefings to share learnings within those smaller teams, all in an effort to create more of an empathetic culture as we're dealing with customers that are dealing with real challenges. We also have partnered with Single Stop. That's a nonprofit organization. They offer free, user-friendly websites where customers can check their eligibility for federal, state, and local benefits. That can help our customers with housing, food, healthcare, and their utility costs. Links to Single Stop are now available on Delmarva Power's websites. And since launching that partnership in late April, over 620 Delmarva Power households have utilized the platform and completed their initial screenings for more than $13 million in potential benefits. I'll talk a little bit about auto enrollment as well. So our Manage My Account tool, we have a number of tools that are made available from my former project, the smart meter deployment. That data really allows us to be proactive in engaging with our customers and provide an immense amount of data that can help them manage their bills, alerts, et cetera. But you had to sign up for those before. And if you're busy or you're not always, on your phone or willing to sign up for an app or for notifications, we did realize the benefit of having our customers enrolled in billing and payment notifications, energy use tracking, so that if you're using a certain amount of energy at a certain point of the month, we will actually be able to send you alerts, and of course our outage alerts. All of our customers with email addresses on our system were automatically enrolled this past September. So they are all now receiving those benefits, over 350,000 customers. And we've got well over 359,000 high usage alerts that have gone out and over 352,000 energy usage breakdowns for our customers. I'll move on to next slide 11 here. We'll talk about the impact that we have in Delaware. We'll talk a little bit about our STEM partnerships. So we've been working closely with the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation, and we recently opened a state-of-the-art STEM center at the Academia Antonio Alonso Charter School. That's in Newark. This center offers local students a unique opportunity to explore science, technology, engineering, and math. It's part of Delmarva Power and the Exelon Foundation's broader mission to empower our students, our local students, with practical skills and inspire the innovators of tomorrow. Some events that I've seen a few of us in this room at include our Careers in Energy Week. I had the pleasure of participating in that last year and this year. We hosted over 200 local high school students from Newark, Brandywine, all the schools mentioned here today, and had over 100 of our employees with actual in-person interactive exhibits, really showcasing the different jobs and the different challenges that we have in the energy sector today. And the goal there is to expose them to these jobs that are here in this state and also inspire them and let them know that we do need their ideas and their innovation to move forward and tackle our challenges. We work in collaboration with our International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 1238. We delivered toys to Nemours Children's Hospital last year. And I know that was very well received by our young customers and patients there. Customer satisfaction recognition. So in January of this year, Delmarva Power was actually ranked highest in residential customer satisfaction by J.D. Power for the third consecutive year. So we've come a long way. A lot of us in the state of Delaware are familiar with Junior Achievement, all of the great work they do in Wilmington. We were present and contributed heavily to two newly updated suites, the JA BizTown and JA Finance Park, really just reinforcing our commitment to youth financial literacy and career readiness. Finally, we hosted in partnership with Delaware State University right down the street here, the Global Challenge Sustainability Conference. Our collaboration with Delaware State University runs deep. That began in 2021 with an investment in the Renewable Energy Education Center, and we've committed over $1.825 million over 3 years to support scholarships, sustainability research, DEI programs, and event sponsorships. To round it out, we also work very closely with Habitat for Humanity. Our culture really is one of volunteerism. Our employees bring their skills to a lot of the local nonprofits, such as Habitat, and we volunteer our time and our skills to support affordable housing efforts. And then, of course, our Customer Relief Fund, which appreciate your partnership and being present at the launch there alongside the governor and the Delaware SEU and Drew Slater. We'll move on to slide 12. Here I'll be talking a little bit more in depth about our Customer Relief Fund. Jacqueline touched on this, but this fund really was made possible through a one-time $4.5 million charitable contribution from our parent, Exelon. We also partnered with the state of Delaware in that with the Delaware State Energy Fund. The benefit here is that our customers are getting not only immediate dollars to assist with paying their electric bills, but also a home energy checkup as part of Energize Delaware's offerings. With that, really, every household is eligible for a one-time $300 payment. Those funds are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. As of October 24th, we've had over 2,500 applications received. About 1,200 of those have been approved. That's roughly $355,000 pledged to our customers. There were 882 declined. Just to be transparent, those were primarily due to income eligibility or account issues. But I will, piggyback off of Tyler's comments. These funds are available for low to moderate income customers. So we're trying to expand the reach there to all folks being challenged. One of the requirements I did mention, and I have to give a shout out to Drew Slater. He's been also out in the field with us at our community events, part of Energize Delaware. The Delaware SEU is performing those home energy checkup and counseling services. Byproduct of that, we're also hiring local folks to do some of those home energy checkups. Those are in the customers' homes, and we're able to hire folks from the local communities. And that's really providing longer-term support for customers to lower their energy usage. Move on to slide 13, talk a little bit about economic development. I know a few folks in this room were likely at the Merck ribbon cutting, and I'm proud to say that Delmarva Power was working diligently to balance the promotion of economic growth, but also ensure grid reliability and protect our ratepayers. We're proud to have supported Delaware's efforts to attract new manufacturing operation by Merck. But again, as Tyler mentioned, with data centers and the like and large load customers in general, we do want to protect our customers. Our TSA, or Transmission Security Agreement, that does just that. As Tyler mentioned, it really puts some protections in place for our customers against stranded cost, and also making sure that the customers that are coming to the state are going to use the electricity that they claim they are going to use to help offset some of the infrastructure investments that are needed to deliver power to these customers. Continue on to slide 14. I want to talk a little bit about community solar. We know that this is a huge topic in the state right now. We're proud of our first community solar project in Delaware that was located in Hartley, Delaware. Again, saw folks at the ribbon cutting there. That was a level 4 solar project situated on 22 acres of land. That system's designed as a 6 megawatt system for us. And That interconnection agreement was signed on January 30th. And then our second project in Georgetown, Delaware, a 4.76 megawatt DC of solar energy. That featured 8,910 solar panels spread across 31 acres, and that's expected to generate approximately 8 million kilowatt hours annually. That's the equivalent of avoiding almost 5,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. That's roughly, in real terms, taking about 1,100 cars off the road. So very significant. I will note, a lot of attention right now is on making sure we're expediting projects and having these go live as quickly as possible. We've got a great team that's been growing inside of Delmarva Power to meet these demands. We have 4 to 6 projects right now expected to be delivered by year end. That'll deliver about 16 megawatts of power, and then 16 additional projects through the first quarter of next year. We're also working closely with the commission and the CCSA to update red lines to really bring the standards as we approach community solar in Delaware, really modernize it. Those were originally touched about 10 years ago, so we did feel the need that we needed to be involved in updating. We'll move on to slide 15. Talk a little bit about our energy efficiency portfolio. Delaware customers and discuss, we'll talk about some of the highlights and challenges. Delmarva Power continues to support the state's energy efficiency objectives and our customer-focused solutions across our service areas. In 2024, our energy efficiency programs achieved more than 21,000 megawatt hours in energy savings. That reached our 94% of our annual goal, despite the challenge of launching 3 new programs. These programs directly engage and educated the public we actually directly engaged and educated the public at 22 community events, including energy efficiency workshops hosted in partnership with Energize Delaware, our nonprofit program implementer. That home energy checkup, again, during those visits, an energy advisor evaluates the insulation levels and air leakage, your heating, cooling, and water heating systems, windows and doors, lighting and appliances. We offer energy-saving products that are installed at no cost to the customer. There's a new homes program, really, again, supporting Energy Star certified homes. Commissioners, you mentioned, impacts from federal activity right now. We do not expect any impact to our energy efficiency home efforts because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. We are working closely with builders and developers, and we're being told they are not relying on those credits and will continue building to those Energy Star 3.1 guidelines. So happy to continue that partnership. We thank the commission for recently approving Delmarva Power's application to retire the EnergyWise Rewards and Peak Energy Savings Credit programs in May. That was due to our changing markets, PJM market rule changes, aging technology, and really an unsustainable financial structure for those programs in the current market conditions. But that paves the way for modernization. We are looking at bring your own device and advanced load control switches that modernize our demand response offerings, our EV smart charging programs to optimize grid performance and incentivize off-peak charging, battery integration, and locational demand response pilots to explore future capabilities and support those non-wires alternatives that we always talk about, and also new TOU rate options, so time of use options, looking at enabling passive solutions for our more cost-conscious customers. Move on to slide 17. I'll talk a little bit about our operational performance. Tyler discussed Delmarva Power's operational excellence, and that's really what delivers the real value to our customers. We hear that directly from our customers. Their expectations are completely reliable service, even on blue sky days. I am excited to highlight 2 key projects that continue to demonstrate our commitment to reliability, efficiency, and smart grid innovation. The first is our automated circuit recloser deployment. That improves fault detection and system reliability. Automatic circuit reclosers were installed on 15, 25, and 34 kV distribution circuits. These devices detect faults and allow the circuit to temporarily remain closed, giving the fault condition a chance to clear. It's especially helpful in some of our Wilmington neighborhoods with that mature tree canopy. They help sectionalize our feeders, reducing the number of customers impacted by mainline faults. And circuits with tie points are grouped into ASR schemes. That enables automatic reconfiguration and backfeeding to unaffected zones, really significantly reducing, the impact of our frequency and duration of outage metrics. In 2024, we installed 64 reclosers. We're on track to install 71 more this year. The average cost per device is approximately $60,000. Benefits, again, enhanced grid automation, cost savings. We reduce our truck rolls. We reduce inspections. We could clear our temporary faults automatically. And of course, the most important, improving reliability. So we could quickly restore power after temporary faults like tree contact or lightning strikes without human intervention. Second project is our Steel to Milford line upgrade. That was driven by the retirement of that Indian River Unit 4 generator. And this addresses overloads on that line under multiple N1 contingency scenarios identified by PJM. The real goal there was to increase the maximum operating temperature of the circuit from 80 degrees to 125 degrees Celsius. And to achieve that, we were innovative. We had to modify or replace structures to prevent clearance violations. Out of 206 total wood H-frame structures, we replaced 30, modified 70, and used some innovative floating dead end modifications and phase raisers to help save our customers and us costs associated with that. Those solutions allowed us to avoid a full rebuild, saved millions of dollars. The total project cost came in at $7.4 million compared to a full rebuild of an estimated $92 million. Benefits of that project, cost efficiency, those modifications, again, significantly reduced our project costs. Accelerated completion, we allowed for the early generation retirement and faster system improvements. And again, improved safety and reliability, which is one of our fundamental values here. Moving on to our overall operational performance, from 2021 to 2024, Delmarva Power maintained average outage frequency to less than 1 outage per customer across our service territory. In 2024, our SAIFI, which is our System Average Interruption Frequency Index, finished at 0.65. This metric has remained consistent over the past 3 years. Our CAIDI, which is our Customer Average Interruption Duration Index, ended 2024 at 104 minutes, which was a 4-minute improvement over 2023. Both metrics are on track for 2025, excluding any major storm events. And even when including storms, our all-in SAIFI for 2024 remained at 0.65, demonstrating that our system is resilient and strong under challenging conditions. We do have a reliability improvement and sustainability effort in progress as well. That's a strategic initiative to improve reliability across all of our companies. Those focus areas include system health, project execution, reinforced best work practices, process improvement, innovative solutions, and we're meeting bi-weekly, reviewing all of those areas in detail and identifying and addressing any system deficiencies. Reliability remains central to delivering an exceptional customer experience for our Delmarva Power Delaware customers. Safety, always paramount. In 2024, we recorded 1 SIF, which is a serious injury or fatality. 1 is too many, but our emphasis and our focus on safety remains a primary for us. Customer satisfaction. In 2024, customer satisfaction with reliability reached 94%. We serve over 460,000 customers, 325,000 roughly electric, 135,000 roughly gas customers. And as I mentioned earlier, our J.D. Power rankings for 2024, #1 in residential electric utility customer satisfaction and #4 in business customer electric satisfaction. In closing, I know we covered a lot. Really enjoyed having the opportunity to speak with you all today. As we wrap up, I'd like to highlight a few key points that Tyler, Jacqueline, and I spoke to this morning. Delmarva Power remains committed to helping customers navigate energy cost pressures while continuing to invest in a more resilient and reliable energy future. We, along with you, our regulators, share a common goal. That's ensuring our services are delivered safely and reliably That's why we are constantly focused on the value we deliver to our customers. We are responsible for making sure our systems are robust, operating at full potential, and supporting the development of sustainable, sufficient power and the deployment of innovative, clean technologies. Additionally, Delmarva Power is committed to collaborating with the Delaware Public Service Commission and the Division of the Public Advocate on both short and long-term initiatives that provide sustainable solutions for our limited to moderate income customers. Together, we're confident that we can power a brighter future for our customers while maintaining a strong focus on affordability.
Thank you, Mr. Beal.
If I could just add, there's a couple of things very important that he missed. So we recently attended the Dell State Hornet One Financial Field trouncing of Norfolk. I don't know if you guys have been following that here, but it was a phenomenal game up there. And, you know, their new head coach, who I happen to be crazy about, is doing a terrific job down there in Dell State. And then, Commissioner, you know, there's things we didn't get to today because there's just not enough time. You know, we're always open for conversation, but what we're working on, one thing I'm starting to get more and more concerned about is wildfires. We've seen more wildfires. As an example, in New Jersey, we had evacuations just north of us. We've had several wildfires near our facilities this last year. So, you know, you'll start to hear us starting to think about terms like PSPS, public safety power shutoffs, proactive shutoffs when certain environmental conditions are met. There's so much going on behind the scenes around cyber protections in the materials that we're buying. There's just a lot that we couldn't cover today, but I'll also close with the fact, you know, I think what's the public advocate, yourselves and us, we all have different roles we're playing, but I think we all want the same thing. We want clean, reliable, and affordable energy. And that's what the strategy is for all of us. Stop there.
Thank you very much. I have Tony Allen on my headgear, and he just said that you've guaranteed that you're going to make it to 11 years.
That's iffy. That's iffy.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Beal. Couple of things. I do want to mention that at the NARUC annual meeting in Seattle starting next week, I don't know if you're sending anybody
Yeah,
out,
we'll have a lot of people
but
there.
there is a session, and I don't know if it's Sunday or another day, on wildfires.
Yeah.
So they are covering that. So
It's coming to the East Coast,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
yeah, but maybe have somebody attend or
attend.
look into that
Thank
because it might be, I don't know, informative, being out on the West Coast. And Mr. Beal, I love your website, your Manage My Account, but I do have some issues with it, and I'll just be brief. But one is when you pay your bill online, which I do, and then you go back in because you forgot you paid it already, and you pay it, they let you pay it again. They don't tell you they tell you it's still due.
I want to say
So-
that's by design, but it's
Yeah. So I like keep double paying, and so like
look
it's
at that.
it's
Thank
hard to manage. But I do, I mean, I probably go in more than anyone. Additionally, you have that online reporting for the light poles, and it doesn't update, so that if you send in a request that the light pole needs, you know, a new light bulb or whatever, and it gets fixed, it just says it's fixed, but then when you go in 3 years later, you can't then ask for it to be fixed. It doesn't reset. So that's been an issue.
Yeah, streetlights are definitely an area of focus for us right now. I would encourage you to reach out to your local elected official, but that's typically how we get some of these escalations. So I'll take that back to the team, and certainly if you have a streetlight situation,
I mean, it's not a situation if
Yeah.
you just do everything online, but once you do it, you have to reset it so that if it happens again, you can do it online. It's
Got
great. You can identify the pole. It's fantastic, except when you identify that pole, it says it's been taken care of, but that was from 2022. So,
understood. Okay.
okay, so little thing. What else? I had a question on my bill this year, and I reached out online, which I love to do, and I got a very insufficient answer. That didn't even answer my question, so I wasn't happy about that. So those are my customer service issues. And additionally, because I represent Newcastle County, as you know, we had issues with the residents in Rockland Mills and in Weldon Ridge. And I'm hoping you can update me on that and let me know that the arresters have been put in place, the trees have been cut down, and they won't have surges anymore. Is that correct?
Brian, I believe you have the stats on that right now, correct?
I do. Good afternoon again, Commissioner Drexler. The arresters have been put in place, and I'm happy to announce today, too, that we just reached, I think, the final agreement with the public advocate about that at-the-meter surge protector program, where we're going to have this pilot program where the residents are able to put this device on their meter as a way to help mitigate either the damage or the risk that any damage occurs from these surges. So it'll be open to 100 people, and it includes the people who the commission has heard from at the public comment sessions. If you remember Mary Graham, who represented some interveners, it's her group and the Rockland Mills folks who were here a couple of meetings ago. So they're also included. So we're excited to get that off. The commission will see shortly an application, a joint application from us, so we can get that underway, get those devices on. It's a 3-year pilot program. And we'll see how it does. And if it works, we'll see what else we can do with that.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for your presentation.
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, 2 quick questions. And you guys like to measure things. I like to see metrics as well. So I don't anticipate you're going to have these answers here in the forum, but you can always follow up with me. Question, any noticeable reduction in the energy demand or load during the period of the federal shutdown? And the last point I would ask for is I like to keep tracking the level of bad debt on your balance sheet versus the rate trends. Amber used to provide that to me, and just if you can update that year to date through October at a follow-up period of time, that would be great. And it sounds like Tyler had an electrifying experience at DSU against Norfolk. No further comment.
Marcus knew so many people. All I wanted to do was watch the game. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Be back, be back. We have a professional online waiting to give a presentation, and assume that the payment clock is running. Good, we'll move to number.
Chair Winslow, could I offer one brief comment in response to Dale Marvis? So I just wanted to thank you all for emphasizing affordability as a key part of what you're doing, and I look forward to working with you on that. I also look forward to working with you on data centers and appreciate what you presented here today, getting into details on that, and on community solar, which Marcus knows is a key issue. We appreciate that there's one facility online. There need to be a lot more, and this is a priority for the state, and we need to get it done. It's important for both generation, and as Jacqueline pointed out, it's important for the subscribers to those facilities because they would be getting discounts on their bills if that's up and running. On the focus on affordability, I want to commend you on it. I want to thank you for it. I also want to know that we will see it in action. We're at a moment where rates are going up, costs are going up. Delmarva Gas has a rate case on the go. That would go to hearing next week. It includes a sizable increase on customer rates. We know that Delmarva will be filing an electric rate case this year. We presume that will also include an increase in rates. So as you're emphasizing everything that you're doing on affordability, the basic question on affordability is, are customers' bills going up? And they are going up. They're going up a lot. So we need to work hard on these issues, and it can't just be a talking point. I look forward to working with you guys on this over the years to come.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, and there was quite a list there. I'd love to come back and talk, because we had talked about data centers, big topic, and you mentioned affordability. You know, I had asked the team to talk about our investments, and I know that Marcus covered them. And I went through some of the different projects, and I was like, it's just a balance of What do you spend? What don't you spend? What can you defer? There's all those questions. Can this go another 3 years? And I looked at the top 5 projects, and it was Basin Road, two new transformers, 1967 vintage. Millsboro, 2 new station feeds for all new home construction. Hanover Sub, 47-year-old switchgear. And you're like, you try to find those. So love to come and talk to you guys more about it. It's a top of mind.
I think that the discussion between the public advocate and staff has been something that the commission has been asking about for a few years now. So I think it's a reciprocal. I think that there's
And we
a
commit
lot of
very transparent process, Chair.
okay. Well, we're looking forward to hearing about the success of that transparent process. And I know that staff and the public advocate will be very happy if that comes to fruition. So we're going to go on to our next, thank you all very much, by the way.
Thank you.
Tyler, wonderful job. Appreciate it. We're going to go out of order because we have Jim Letzettler on the line waiting to speak, and we'll get him off the clock by going to number 4 in the matter of the provision of standard offers supplied to retail consumers in the service territory of Delmarva Power and Light Company. And I guess we have, who's going to be handling that? Kate, is that yours? Who's handling that for this?
I believe Nate is going to introduce our expert, and then he will take it from there.
Okay. Nate, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. On Monday, November 3rd, 2025, Delmarva staff, Commission staff, and the Commission's technical consultant, Liberty Consulting, monitored Tranche 1 of Delmarva's Standard Offer Service, or SOS auction. Here today representing Liberty is Jim Letzelter. Dr. Letzelter is a management consultant with over 30 years of experience in the electric power industry, including, as you will recall, previously serving as the Commission's technical consultant for 9 years for the SOS periods of 2013 to 2021. The slide presentation can be found linked on the Commission's agenda for those who would like to follow along and may be viewable on stream. At the end of the public presentation, staff would respectfully ask you to approve the bids. If you wish to review the actual bid results, the Commission can vote to go into executive session for a confidential presentation. And I'll let Dr. Letzelter take it away.
Please.
Thanks, Nate.
Dr.
Good
Letzelter.
afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Can everyone hear me okay?
Very well.
Okay, wonderful. Great to be here. Is my presentation available for view?
The commissioners have a hard copy of your presentation.
Okay. So moving past the title page to page 2 of the executive summary, and then I'll just tell you when it's the next page to move to. And I do see it on my screen now as well. Thank you. So Liberty completed its role in technical monitoring per usual for Delmarva's Tranche 1 RFP for the 2026 auctions, which took place on Monday, this past Monday, November 3rd. And the summary is that the auction were, as usual, well run and consistent with the RFP. And they were very competitive. In this slide, I say for some customer class and less so from others. But it was very competitive for all. It's just that some were even more competitive. But there was a very good level of participation and competition. So we're happy with that. And therefore, they resulted in prices that were reasonable and as expected and are consistent with the market conditions that we see going on in the marketplace now. Next slide, please. Our role consists of the following 6 items. We review the task and materials for potential bidders and suppliers to be communicated with the needs of the RFP. And then we review the website access that these prospective bidders have and monitor their ultimate eligibility to make sure we have an appropriate level of competition. We then confirm NLX's fees and develop a power market assessment for staff so they can get a sense of what to expect. And we approve the opening prices that NLX, the developer and operator of the auction platform, starts the auctions with. And finally, we monitor the auction and confirm the results. Next slide. So the Tranche 1 auctions, we had about 308 megawatts up for bid under 8 blocks. There were 4 blocks of risky residential, small commercial, and industrial, which is half of the power that is needed for the customer class as we spread it out over 2 years, half at a time under 4 blocks in the first tranche. And for medium general service, or MGS, there were 2 blocks totaling 71 megawatts. And for large general service, LGS, there was a single 8 megawatt block. And for general service primary, or GSP, there was a single block of just over 9 megawatts. The delivery periods are as such. For risky, there are 2 years from June of 2026 through May of 28, and the larger classes, MGS, LGS, and GSP, use a 1-year delivery period, which is June 26 to May of 27. Next slide. So we look at participation in terms of the number of actual bidders that show up on auction day. And we took a historical look of that, as well as the number of bids, which we'll look at in the next slide. But we start out with, on the top row, EOIs, which are expressions of interest, which are the number of, that's the number of suppliers that literally express an interest in joining the auction. And that is typical. We ended up with 15, and that's right around the average. However, what's good is that this year, for Tranche 1, there are 11 that became eligible, which is the most we've had in the past 6 years. And in fact, we've since got another eligible supplier that will make it 12 for Tranche 2. So that's very positive. As far as the actual bidders that showed up, only 10 actually showed up to bid on the Tranche 1 auctions on Monday of the 11, which is still great because it's 2 more than we had in any of the best years of the past 6. So overall, the participation was very good. Next slide. Now, in this slide, we compare for last year, 2025, and this year, 2026 delivery periods, the number of bidders and the number of bids. In bold are the current ones that happened on Monday for 2026. And you can see that under bidders, for each block, each of the 8 blocks, there were more bidders available this year than last year in Tranche 1. And likewise, we received more bids in every single block in this year versus last year. All very positive. Next slide. The part of the work we do is when we worked with NLX to take a look at the power market conditions to make sure that we, analyze any market conditions that could lead to the need to postpone the auctions. Then we establish opening prices for the blocks for each class. And then we review NLX's estimate of the range of winning prices for each block. And the conclusion after doing all that was that there were no adverse market conditions and that the auctions should proceed. Next slide. As part of my usual public presentation, we talk about energy markets because the prices that we receive are tied to what's going on in the energy market. So when you look at the chart, you see that the red line reflects the price in terms of dollars per megawatt hour of PJM's DPL zone. And those are forward prices. And it's for the 24 months that commences on June 1st of 2026. The black lines represent the 2-year period commencing on June of 2025, because that was from last year. And what we see here is that in 2025 Tranche 1, which is a solid black line, when you compare that to the dashed black line is higher throughout. and that is the increase in wholesale energy prices between Tranche 1 and Tranche 2 last year. And then you look further at the red line, which is the most recent line for 2026 Tranche 1, you see that's substantially higher than both of them. And of course, you can probably infer that that is going to have an impact on bid prices. So the short of it is that the prices were 23% higher than last year's Tranche 1 for the 1-year delivery period and 19% for the average of the 2-year delivery period. They were 13% higher than last year's Tranche 2 prices for the 1-year delivery period and 12% higher than those of the 2-year delivery period. So overall, what we're seeing is a pretty substantial increase in wholesale energy market prices. Next slide. A lot of this is tied to the gas market, and gas forward prices were definitely higher than those of last year's Tranche 1 and Tranche 2. Just like in the previous slide for wholesale power, what you're seeing is the gas price, which is priced at what's called Transco Zone 6 non-New York, which is the most appropriate price for the PJM price that affects Delmarva. That the gas prices are 40% higher than last year's Tranche 1 over the 1-year period and 34% over the 2-year delivery period. You can see that the big increase came between last year's Tranche 1 and Tranche 2, and then there's just another increase on top of that as you go from the black solid to the black dash to the red line. And that's consistent with the electric price increases from the wholesale standpoint as well. Next slide. And finally, I show a slide to overlay power, which is subject to the left axis in terms of dollars per megawatt hour, and gas prices, which is the red line, and is measured by the right axis in terms of dollars per MMBTU. And you can see that they're not perfectly congruent, but they follow the same general shape. When the gas price goes up, so does the power price. So what we see there is that there is the relationship still intact, and that the seasonal price shapes are maintained as would be expected. Next slide. So for capacity prices, this is always the talk of what's going on lately at PJM. Again, as with the energy, it's a 2-year period that affects the risky pricing, and you see that in the dashed line, one dashed line to the next dashed line. The 2025 price went up a little bit because of the average pricing and the change out of the proxy price to the ultimate real price. But a bigger issue would be the capacity price that affects MGS, LGS, and GSP, where it rose from 270 to 329 in this past year, and won't be affected yet for the 2027-28 auction prices, which we're using a proxy for now. But those are all factored into what we expect for bid prices as well. Next slide. So with Tranche 1 complete, the next thing that happens is, after today, Tranche 2, which will take place in late January. And Tranche 2 will be presented to the Commission 2 days later in the same format as I'm doing right now for Tranche 1. And then, assuming all blocks go filled in Tranche 2, we will have a conclusion of this year's SOS auctions. And then Liberty, myself, I will present the annual final report to the Commission sometime in February of 26, and the new rates will go into effect for customers on June 1st of 26. So next slide. So in conclusion, market conditions indicated the Tranche 1 should proceed, and it did. The auctions were well run as usual. The NLX auction platform continued to perform well, and everything went as planned. The auctions were competitive, and they resulted in winning bid prices that were consistent with the market conditions. And with all of that said, we summarized by saying that Liberty recommends approving the winning bids. And with that said, I will open up to any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, one question. Thank you, Doctor, for the presentation and for the good work. Can you say whether the gas price is escalating more as a function of higher demand, constrained supply, or for some other reason? 34 to 40% is pretty
Yeah,
dramatic.
there's a lot going on in both the gas and electric markets, and supply and demand is the fundamental cause of gas price and any commodity, whether it's gas or power or anything else for that matter. With gas and power, there are also delivery constraints that affect it too. So some markets are affected more than others. And without being able to give specific examples with numbers and anecdotal evidence, Transco Zone 6, now New York, may have an entirely different growth rate at certain times than other parts of the country have due to the transportation component. However, overall, generally the entire country sees gas prices rise and fall reasonably together, other than those regional differences for transportation. But it is generally supply and demand issues, which includes a lot. There are supply and demand. There's a lot of reasons for it, and there's also storage issues as well, which affects the supply.
Okay. So you mentioned delivery and storage. Understood. Thank you very much again, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move that the committee adopt the winning bids as submitted.
Second?
I would, as part of the discussion, I would like to make an amendment to the motion.
Sure.
I would like to add that at the time of the auction, there were no adverse market conditions that would necessitate the rescheduling of the auction. The auction was competitive in all customer classes. The auction was fair to all the bidders, and the prices were reasonably consistent with market conditions. I'd like to have that added to the motion, and therefore it's in the best interest of the ratepayers for this auction results to be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Conaway? Aye. 3 ayes, the matter, I guess 2 abstentions, or 2 not present, I guess. Dr. Ledzelter, thank you very much. Nate, that was very well done. You're the first person I know of in 21 years who was able to do that without a lawyer at their sitting right next to him. So you're really you're getting to be a pro now.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And for trusting that, since you can't see me, I don't actually have a lawyer next to me, which I don't.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Noy is in the room? Actually, you come on up, and why don't we, if you don't mind, we're gonna see some anxious people from Artesian Water Company out there. Let's do them and get them out of the room. And so let's go to number 3. Tom, you can come up to the table. Don't worry. Number 3 is in the matter of the application of Artesian Water Company for an increase in water-based rates. And we've been here for a little bit. We want to take a break soon for the court reporter and for other reasons as well. So just mind the fact, everyone, that we've read and we know that what the statute says, and we know that we're going to be voting yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Emerson, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Winslow and Commissioners. Courtney Emerson on behalf of Artesian Water Company, here today in docket 250346, respectfully requesting that the Commission enter order number 10865, which would approve Artesian's second step of interim rates in the amount of $10,849,935. If approved, this rate increase is expected to result in an increase of approximately $3.28 per month for the average residential customer, which is calculated at 4,000 gallons of usage. We will include notice of the increase in bill messages to all customers. And this rate increase would not exceed 15% of our gross intrastate operating revenues, and it has been 7 months since we have filed our application. We request waiver of the bond requirements due to our longstanding history with the state and the commission. That was my briefest recitation of the facts that I feel comfortable with. I'd like to thank staff's counsel and DPA for their assistance with the order and review of the application.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Emerson. Ms. Workman?
Commissioner Gray noted that on the agenda, the amount appears as 8 million. However, on the proposed order, it does appear correctly as stated by Ms. Emerson. So just want to check that the number is 10 million, not 8 million.
Yes, that is correct. So the additional increase would be 8 million, subject to refund with interest, will bring the total interim rate increase to 10,849,000. Which, if you add the 8,349,935 plus the 2.5 million that was subject to the first rate increase, those two add together to the 10,849,935.
The agenda is for notice purposes only. The only important figure is the one found in the order, which we will sign, and that appears to be correct. Any other questions?
Staff supports the order.
Mr. Crumpler?
DPA supports the order as well.
Mr. Gray?
I understand this request is by statute allowed, and the commission has very little flexibilities in terms of how to actually administer the decision. Am I right?
Correct. The statute gives them the right to increase. And then all that is subject to repayment if their end rate case ends up being lower.
Understood. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we adopt order number 10865 as submitted.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Conaway voted aye, and the three present voted aye, and Commissioner Correa is absent. Okay, thank you all very much. Thanks, Ms. Emerson. Nice talking to you, Mr. Spate. I think so, yes, sir. I think staff has all the rest of them, so I think they've got to be here anyway, so we wanted to get the people out who.
Did you want Veolia to give us an update? I believe they're in the room as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to treat them like we did Artesian. Please come forward, Larry. Look out at home.
All right, good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Larry Finicum on behalf of Veolia. I'm here to give an update on a significant main break that Veolia had on October the 25th, which was 2 Saturdays ago. So on the morning of Saturday morning, October 25th, Veolia experienced a significant main break on a 20-inch cast iron transmission main. This is a significant supply of water going from our Stanton Water Treatment Plant to what we call is our South Service Territory. The main reason for the break was likely a combination of infrastructure age, temperature, and soils conditions, as this main, where the main actually broke, is next to a small creek/tributary called Eagle Run. During the event, Customers in Newark, Christiana, Brookside, Bear, and Newcastle experienced low or very low water pressure. And although there was no evidence of water contamination, Veolia decided to issue a precautionary boil water advisory out of abundance of caution. This was to ensure that all of our customers were protected while post-repair water quality testing was conducted and those repairs were made. The advisory, the boil water advisory, affected approximately just approximately 20,000 connections, or what we estimated was 50,000 customers when using that 2.5 multiplier per connection. And that remained in effect from when it was called on Saturday at approximately 5 o'clock to Monday afternoon on October the 27th, once all of our samples came back negative and that we were given the okay from ODW to lift the boil. We use multiple communicational platforms to communicate the boil water advisory, both going into that boil water advisory as well as coming out of that boil water advisory. And we use those same means to communicate with customers through the boil event. The repair actually required us to replace about 65 feet of 20-inch transmission main, and we actually crossed Eagle Run, which is, again, a small tributary. We got permission from DENREC to do that. And again, credit to the team to be able to do all of those repairs within a 24-hour period. Those repairs were done sometime around 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. So I will take any questions that any of the commissioners or the chairman may have.
Thank you for that update. Appreciate it very much. I assume you're not going to really experience great liabilities from the customer base as a consequence. Not feedback to you yet.
We did get customer feedback in regards to low pressure, very low pressure.
Yeah.
Again, you know, giving in that it was on the weekend, a lot of that went through our after hours, but on Monday morning, we were able to circle back with a lot of those customers, and obviously our customer call center was open for business, and we were able to communicate with those customers about what needs to be done as it relates to, you know, remedy.
Appreciate the quick response. Thanks for keeping everybody safe.
Marty, can anybody from staff have questions?
I don't believe so.
Thank you, sir,
Okay, thank you.
very much. Noyes. Thank you for your
Chairman,
patience.
Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to update the commission in the room on the implementation of our state energy plan. Staff, I believe we have a presentation to queue up. Oh, there we are. Splendid. Thank you. While we're waiting for this to get queued up, appreciate how busy you are and we are. There's a lot going on in the energy policy and program space, and I just want to say in advance that we, meaning the state agencies, talk all the time on a lot of these issues. And it's very valuable for us and for the people we serve. We could just go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. Just recapping who we are, what we do. We're the DENREC State Energy Office. We do renewable energy, energy efficiency, grid modernization, energy security, energy justice, stakeholder engagement, the Governor's Energy Advisory Council, and of course, emerging issues. These are issues that have become more prominent or more urgent since this plan was finalized almost a year ago. Moving ahead, next slide, please. This, of course, is the state energy plan. A whole lot of work went into it. There are 5 key chapters or strategic areas: energy justice, renewable energy and clean technologies, energy efficiency and beneficial electrification, grid modernization, and workforce development. I'm not going to get into all the details because we've already been here long enough, and I don't want to unnecessarily prolong the proceedings here. We could go to the next one. This is a very simple slide to illustrate that this plan was not developed in isolation. This plan was based on the Governor's Energy Advisory Council's recommendations. That was a subject of extensive, exhaustive, and exhausting work on the part of members of the council and its work groups, as well as our team. That feeds the state energy plan. And by the way, the state energy plan also informs the ongoing work on updating our climate plan, because since we work for the same organization, we're on the second floor, they're on the first floor, we have a mandate that the climate plan and the energy plan be consistent and one doesn't get too far out and ahead of another. Next slide, too. We have on our website, we have something called the Energy Hub, which is a good place to get basic information about our energy systems. Recommend that for those wanting to explore some of the basic data that we work with. The next, this is our strategic summary. In 2025, DENREC State Energy Office has been focused on rolling out the Energy Hub and using mapping tools to target and evaluate programs and policies, incorporating energy justice into programs and policies across the board, updating the state's energy codes. These are building codes specific to energy conservation, undertaking a grid modernization study, researching clean technologies, including nuclear, connecting state energy plan strategies into the next update of the Climate Action Plan, as I just mentioned, working to implement the Governor's Executive Order 10 on workforce development, engaging in multi-state collaborations on capacity markets, load growth, and PJM governance. So we'll have more to say on that subject. And of course, working with our fellow state agencies, PSC and DPA, on data centers and load growth. Next, please. Touching briefly on energy justice. Key strategy of our plan was to initiate studies to identify energy burdened communities. You can see some of this at the Energy Hub, which includes an energy disadvantaged communities viewer. And this is not just for viewing, but these mapping tools are being used to direct program resources and evaluate outcomes, including how well we reach and serve those communities. Second strategy that I'll highlight is out of the energy plan was assess a new utility rate structure for low-income electric customers. House Bill 116, which provides the PSC with flexibility to consider and approve discounted rates for low-income customers, was signed into law even before we published the plan itself. If we could go to the next, and commissioners, feel free to stop and ask questions along the way. This is a screenshot of our disadvantaged communities viewer. As for those who know GIS, Geographic Information Systems capabilities, we have the ability to overlay different metrics on the same map. It's a very useful tool and very interesting to play around with. Next. Renewable energies and clean technologies. One strategy was to establish statewide goals for distributed solar generation. On this point, up till now, we've just had an RPS, and we've not set specific targets for how much would be utility scale distributed. So on that point, we are undertaking a solar market potential study RFP has been published, and we're looking for the results from that for 2026. Even so, it's worth noting that sometime during this year, we reached, according to the PSC statistics, 10,000 solar installations, 244 megawatts. In terms of the number of installations, the vast majority are small distributed rooftops. So Delaware's been doing well at encouraging small rooftop solar, and this, of course, for residential could be 4, 6, 10 kilowatts, larger for small businesses. But we've been doing well there. But we want to, this study is intended to provide a bit more data, not a bit more, a lot more data, and some guidance into where the opportunities are, including the opportunities we have not fully taken advantage of. Second item, their second strategy is expand equitable access to renewable energy. We are expanding our low and moderate income solar pilot program. And we worked with NASA this year on a survey of solar and storage potential in the city of Wilmington. We're going to be taking that kind of technology and applying it statewide so that if, for instance, in Wilmington, if we sit down, we hope to sit down with city leaders and say, there's this potential here, how can we work with you to take advantage of more of that potential? We're excited about that. Next, please. Strategy is develop and implement an offshore wind strategy that meets Delaware's needs. The most straightforward update we can give you on that is that we're working with states on the best regional long-term, meaning the next 3-year path forward on procurement planning, transmission planning, supply chain, and workforce coordination, so that those states that are interested in developing offshore wind and the industry are in the best possible position to move forward when opportunities open up again. Next strategy is monitor and benefit from emerging renewable and clean technologies, and this includes nuclear. We have joined the NASIO-NERUC Advanced Nuclear States Collaborative. We are participating in the Legislative Nuclear Feasibility Task Force. We're also staying on top of hydrogen opportunities. We could go to the next one. Into the next area is energy efficiency and beneficial electrification. Strategy on-street and EV charging. Our colleagues in the climate and sustainability section published a roadmap to electric vehicles earlier this year. And these chapters include expanding access to electric vehicle charging, and perhaps more significantly for this body, how do we support grid stability and resilience as we add more charging distributed load to the grid. And also want to point out a strategy of track and measure progress towards energy efficiency and electrification. We have start action notice. We started an EM&V regulation earlier this year, and that's well on its way. We hope to have that final reg published shortly. Next, please. In the area of energy codes, meaning energy conservation codes, one strategy was to support voluntary stretch code adoption. A stretch code is when a local government chooses to institute stronger requirements than the statewide code. And legislation updated last year the code to provide a framework for local governments to adopt stretch codes, and some guardrails around that so that there's some rationality to that process. Another is to support net zero energy capable building energy codes and new construction. We are updating the overall energy conservation code, looking to have a final regulation published shortly to update us from the 2018 code to the 2024 code. We will have further discussions on how to promulgate and implement net zero capable provisions. Those are ongoing and are, at this point, are not part of the updated code that is we're preparing to publish. There is also a zero net energy code provision for commercial buildings required in state code by 2030. We could go to the next. Wrapping up on energy efficiency, work with local governments to support enforcement of stronger state energy codes. State doesn't enforce the codes. Local governments, counties and municipalities do. We applied for and had a conditional award for training to do this. Unfortunately, this and other awards from the U.S. Department of Energy have been just sitting there for we don't know how long and we don't know how much longer. So we're going to step up and see what we can do with our own resources to provide training for local governments, because it's one thing to put it in the code, it's another to provide the people who implement and enforce those codes the tools they need, as well as the builders, the tools they need to effectively implement these codes. And one final item here, improve building energy performance by developing building performance standards. Same story. We have a conditional award for a 9-year, it's a long-term project, to develop building performance standards for larger commercial buildings. All of that's sitting there, and we don't know when or if our federal government will release those funds. Going to the next slide. Grid modernization is a huge issue with us, and but we start with these two maps. On the left is a transmission map. The source is called Open Infrastructure Map, a very good resource, by the way. And on the right is Delmarva Power's circuit map. That's the distribution map, and the colors are for openness of the different circuits to adding solar to the grid. So we are engaged with working on grid modernization at both levels. We're going to have to run through these because there was a lot in the plan on this. Clarify Public Service Commission role on siting and routing authority. Well, the commission was given that authority last year, and I believe we've got a docket that's just opened on that. And by the way, the State Energy Office intends to intervene in that docket. Promote energy storage projects at different scales in Delaware. We have a study that the SEU, in consultation with us, is undertaking on that. Modify rate design. We, in talking with our legislative friends, we decided with other studies underway that the appropriate time to do a time of use study would be 2026. So we're gearing up for that. And maximize resilience of infrastructure to combat climate vulnerabilities. There are two efforts underway. One is our energy security plan, which was updated last year, includes discussion of climate vulnerabilities for infrastructure. And we have the federal 40101D Grid Resilience Program, which is providing some relatively modest grants to our utilities to do infrastructure upgrades. Next, please. Modernize distribution networks to integrate distributed energy resources. Here I'm going to mention an ongoing grid modernization study that we have launched. We have a consultant on board. It is going to be comprehensive. In fact, we had staff from Delmarva Power meeting in this last hour with us and with our consultant on this subject. This is, of course, a collaborative effort with all of our electric utilities.
Tom, how
Yes.
are you incorporating the concerns from all around the state about the price of capital plans for TP&L?
This is a very good question. And I think the best short answer I can give you is that we are interested in an ongoing conversation with our utilities that prioritize capital investment to meet the needs, not just of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but where we're going. You know, the old Wayne Gretzky quote, skate where the puck is going, not where it's been. This is intended to provide some forward look on what the needs are going to be. We are, of course, and our fellow state agencies, very concerned about the cost of capital investment. Is that helpful? Thank you. Innovative rate design and programs to use smart grid technologies for peak shaving. This is going to be part of our grid mod study. Advanced technology to control behind the meter distributed energy resources, microgrid projects, all addressed in the grid mod study. And I could add more, but in the interest of time, I cut some of this presentation short. Finally, this is not a subject that was explicitly broken out in the energy plan, but shows up in various places in the energy plan. This is the importance of regional collaborations. And here are two. Just the general strategy of developing partnerships with neighboring states. Some of the venues in which we engage with our neighboring states are the National Governors Association. The State Energy Office and the PSC are active in PARSEC, PJM Area Relevant State Energies Committee. PSC and the SEU are active in OPSI. Should also mention that consumer advocates have their own organization, which I think we mentioned in a moment. And then we are also in various venues, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, in talking with neighboring states on looking where the opportunity, we can best plan for opportunities down the road on offshore wind. Some of these issues involve regional transmission planning, and that we are active in what's called the Northeast States Collaborative on Transmission, and the NGA is also active on transmission planning. I'll have more to say on interstate collaboration in a moment. I want to take a step to talk about workforce development. Next slide. There is, in almost every of the work groups in the GEAC, there is discussion of workforce development. The State Energy Office is not the lead agency on workforce development, but we work with other partners. We did, in our division, create a Delaware Clean Energy and Climate-Related Jobs Workforce Development Assessment earlier this year. The Governor's Executive Order 10, signed in May, establishes an Office of Workforce Development to streamline duplicative efforts, identify and harness synergies, focus on training Delawareans in the advanced technologies of tomorrow. And we're supporting that effort in every way we can. Finally, I want to turn for a moment to emerging issues. Thank you. These are issues that have either arisen or become more urgent since this plan was finalized just about a year ago. One is PJM governance. PJM states are seeking to exert more influence on governance. We participated in the planning for the state's Technical Conference on PJM Governance, which convened in September. Our fellow agencies were there. Commissioner Drexler was there. It was quite a powerful day with a full day of experts from all aspects of the industry, with a keynote right off the bat in the morning with Mark Christie, former FERC chair, who gave a very powerful summation of why states should have a greater role in PJM governance. Delaware is out of that through the National Governors Association. There's a new PJM State Governors Collaborative, which is sort of a partner collaborative alongside OPSI and CAPS. And this is to provide a forum for the executive branches of the PJM states to more robustly engage with PJM issues. In doing this, we confer all the time with our sister state agencies. And I'll give an example of that in a moment. Another issue is the high capacity markets. We are very much engaged, again, with our partners in DPA and PSC on the critical issue fast path process, and it really is a fast path process. Started on capacity auctions and load growth. We are, through all of these forums, very much engaged in this because it's going to have a huge impact on Delaware. Capacity prices we're going to see the impact, we have seen and will see the impact on our customer bills in this last year and the next several years to come. And again, this is an area where we confer all the time. And I think we are pretty much in sync in what our interests are. And if I could summarize our interests, the idea of the regional grid is to improve reliability and lower costs. We're concerned that where we're going is going to harm reliability and drive costs higher. If I could summarize our point of view succinctly. Finally, the next slide.
Before you move on.
Yeah.
You know, I heard about the conference. I wasn't able to attend. But it seems to me that if you're going to do something with that conference, it's nice to talk about all the generalities, et cetera, but you really got to do something. And I don't know that you all, us, I include myself, PJM's a Delaware corporation. Do you have somebody from the legal area that's going to tell you how to amend their charter, what it's going to take, so that the states can get a greater say in the governance? Because without a change, a legal change, you're not going anywhere. So you can talk about all the issues, and collaborate with everybody about the issues, but the bottom line is to put pressure on the stakeholders at PJM. I think you're going to have to put something on the table that says, look, you're a Delaware corporation. Here's what it says in your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, your operating agreement. Here's what we're going to do to change it. Here's how we're going to do it. I think you got to have leverage. You got to be able to show them that you're going to be serious about doing something. So I'm just saying that, not knowing that you might be doing everything I've already said. I mean, hopefully that's the case. But it just seems to me that I've been around a bit, and I've had this discussion before. As a matter of fact, I initiated it 4 or 5 years ago in OPSI, and we never got anywhere. But now the governors are paying attention, and that means the legislatures were probably involved as well. And it's really an ideal time to get something done. But if you don't know what the law is, and you don't have something you can set forth to change the corporate working agreement and the bylaws, then you're really not making any progress.
those are interesting observations, Mr. Chair, but is the arbiter here not the FERC? Because the FERC, I think, presides over how PJM operates and the guardrails related thereto.
Well, that's true when they have litigation, but they don't have any management, so to speak, over the PJM and its cooperation or lack thereof with states.
Well, first of all, Commissioner Gray gave you the opening sentence of my response, which is that PJM is a creature of FERC. We have had, and I know
That I'm going to tell you right now, that is not correct. That is not totally correct. PJM is a corporation, and it's obviously got a tariff that it is run by FERC. And I guess FERC could make certain changes, but then the people who are the legal owners of that corporation will have some objections in court about the authority and power of FERC to just do what they want to do. They can't do that because there's a legal corporate entity that has certain legal rights that's operating PJM.
you are right about who owns, or at least sits on the governing board of PJM. We have been in meetings on the executive branch side, and I believe our fellow state agencies on their side, where we have discussed legal avenues to take the state's case to FERC. That's an ongoing conversation. I'm not a lawyer, certainly not a FERC lawyer, but we are having discussions on how we can take our case to FERC.
I would like to add as well that in all of our OPSI meetings, that's the same topic. And it ranges from, 205 filing rights for the states, which they have in the Midwest group that we don't, to how we would manage that and how, as OPSI states and representatives from each state on OPSI would manage that kind of power to better govern and better oversee PJM. So those are very, very topical discussions. And in fact, we had the recent OPSI annual meeting, and that was a big topic and always is about the governance. We have quarter or monthly meetings with PJM regarding the future of PJM in terms of its own organizational structure and a new CEO and the new members of the board. So those are topics that we're talking about, having more states' rights in PJM. But again, interesting point about making that part of the bylaws.
I think
Take back to OPSI.
I think we'd win a lottery if we could solve the PJM puzzle in this room.
Well, there's also the question of, to the extent that states can gain more influence on PJM, how would that influence be? How would we want that influence to be felt? And this brings me to, I think this is the last substantive slide of this presentation. And this is on data centers and load growth. We know the issues in terms of guiding all these conversations, and it's been the dominant conversation among state agencies in recent months. We have advantage of what's called the State Data Center Playbook, which was developed by some folks that we work very closely with, very knowledgeable folks at Johns Hopkins. And first is improve information collection. How much demand is really out there? How much is duplicative among, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio, for instance? Second, clarify the right of utility regulators to tailor rates to data centers. This commission has taken, and not all states have done this, this commission has taken that step. And by the way, we have intervened in that docket because it's so important to overall energy planning for Delaware. Establish substantive requirements for new requests. We are having there's steps moving forward on that. And finally, for a moratorium, which of course was part of the order opening the large load tariff. So in response to the 1,200 megawatt project proposed, which would, by the way, be 44% of Delaware's peak summer load. First, we have the docket that's opened, extremely important. Other states are watching what we're doing here. There are two pieces of legislation that have been introduced on this front. HB 233 would authorize this commission to do what you are already doing, and then probably more. Senate Bill 205 would require a certificate to operate from the PSC for a large load. And of course, there's Newcastle County ordinance introduced. That's a land use ordinance and not the direct business of this commission. I'd like to go back to the SIFP process. And we've had people spending all day, several days a week on these meetings recently. It is a lot to process. We are conferring with some people whose judgment we trust and who we think understand our interests in these. There's a range of proposals for how to accommodate new large loads in the PJM region. These range from generators who are more than happy to plug all the load in they can because they like these high capacity prices, all the way over to people who are proposals that are more in sync with where we think we are. And these proposals would include, there's a proposal from two people, Abe Silverman and Sue Glatz, very experienced in this area. We think fairly well reflects our interests. They're the people, by the way, who did the State Data Center Playbook that I mentioned a minute ago. National Resources Defense Council has a proposal that we've discussed that reflects a lot of our interests. The state of Pennsylvania has, and several other states, and we've been at the table but haven't signed on to this, has been working to try and find some common ground between generators, data centers, who just want to move ahead as fast as possible, and the need for some guardrails around this to protect everyone else. And that's in terms of the cost of electricity and the reliability of the grid. So there's a lot going on in that space, and we don't yet know how this is going to turn out.
First of all, I think that you all are going about it in a fine fashion, I think you're doing a good job. And it's nice to see the stuff on the board. But I have to confess to you that it scares the hell out of me that the state of Delaware or any state is going to try to operate a marketplace. PJM has done a really terrific job for this region over a lot of years. And the supply and demand problem is not necessarily something that they have much control over because a lot of the states in that marketplace have renewable plans. And so people don't want to put up gas turbines. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. So it seems like to me that the state might consider actually trying to negotiate by allowing for a certain period of time energy resources that would mitigate the supply and demand problem we have on a temporary basis at least, because we're looking at a scenario where we have a guy in office in DC who killed a wind plant that was almost 80% complete. The facts on the ground are such that, it seems to me that we have to consider maybe altering our course with respect to where we're heading and making sure that our supply and demand problem is taken care of. And that might mean doing something that might be very difficult for some governors to do, maybe even impossible, which is to allow some fossil fuel generation for a period of time. as a bridge to clean energy. I just think that it's a difficult, like Commissioner Gray said, it's just a very difficult road ahead. And if the states aren't willing to compromise a little bit, I think on the generation issue, I don't see much progress regardless of what you do about governance, because you might be in charge of PJM, which scares the hell out of me, but you still have to find generation to provide to the communities. So anyway, I'm sorry. This really gets me riled up, concerned, and anxious. And I look around and I see NERC, I see FERC, Congress, PJM, 14 different states running in different directions with RPSs and some without RPSs. One's a coal state, a couple of them might be coal states. And it's just, it's like a bunch of cats. So I wish you, somebody younger than I is going to be in my chair soon. And I wish you all well, and whatever I can do to support you, I will. But I do promise that I'll express my opinion the way I feel it.
Not leaving tomorrow.
No.
Chair, may I? Mr. Noyes, I noted in the strategic outline, and thank you very much for sharing that. That's a pretty big challenge of strategies, tasks, and duties to perform. And I've been around for at least 10 years, and I know that, this whole arena is very dynamic. It changes by priority every day. Leadership in DC changes, and thereby all the strategies go out the window in some cases, policies as well. So out of these roughly 30 strategies in today's world, which are the top 3 that you have to put the pedal to the metal with? Because I'm assuming you don't have unlimited resources to work on all of this at the same time. And if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. So I'm interested from your perspective before you leave. Can you just identify the top 3 things that are really burning under the accelerator for you guys?
Most burning issue for us right now is data centers and load growth. I mean, that's probably true for everybody in the room. That doesn't mean we can't move ahead, and we're building, by the way, a very capable team within the State Energy Office. And we've got a gentleman, Scott Hunter, for instance, I'll mention, who is leading the grid modernization study. He, by the way, has 20 years of experience with the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. We are moving ahead with energy codes. That's moving ahead. We still have an RPS. We have Delmarva, a solar auction, that SREC auction that just started a couple of days ago. So some things are already in motion and don't need as much attention. But if you're asking about the top priorities, I'll just give you the data centers and load growth as our top one.
Thank you so much. Good luck. And I'm sure that you'll keep us informed, because I'm sure we'll be partners on this journey. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Excellent
Commissioners,
presentation.
Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll go back to the agenda. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Yes. Very good, We'll start with the consent agenda. Does any commissioner wish to take an item off the consent agenda or make a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes, and an aye from, is that Commissioner Conaway? Or am I hearing things? It wasn't. Okay, so I think she voted aye as well. The motion carries. And we'll go back to the regular agenda. We got number 1, the matter of the revision to the rules of practice and procedure of the Delaware Public Service Commission. We've got an amendment to Regulation 1001 and a proposed final order of 10863. And Ms. Workman, please.
Thank you. I'm going to be very brief. I had a bunch of dates written down. If you want to hear them, I'm happy to share them. But for this docket, we have checked all the procedural points that we need to check in order to publish the regulation as final. We've had the hearing, we've done public notice, we received no comments. This regulation 1001, we were making amendments so that in the event that we don't have a court reporter present, we're still able to proceed with a hearing. And so staff respectfully requests that the commission give staff the authority to submit the proposed regulation as final for publication by entering order number 10863 as presented. Thank you.
Anyone else want to, Mr. Crumpler, anybody, any comments?
DPA is in support.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt order number 10863 as submitted.
Second
the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Conaway. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Four
Aye.
ayes, and Commissioner Correa is absent. Number 2, the motion carries. Number 2, in the matter of the adoption of rules to establish an excavation damage prevention program. And we have order number 10864, and Ms. Workman again.
Thank you. Once again, we are trying to get this published as final. The proposed regulations are to mainly amend the procedure for the payment of fines for excavation damages and to clarify language of the regulation. Again, we've done all the necessary procedural things, including holding a public hearing, making sure public notice was held or was given, and the commission received no comments in this docket. And so we request that the commission give staff the authority to submit the proposed regulations as final for publication by entering order number 10864.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crumpler.
DPA doesn't take a position.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Drexler.
I move that we approve number 10864 as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 4 ayes, and Commissioner Correa is absent. I believe the next thing on the agenda is the hearing schedule. I don't have Commissioner Conaway at my inside to help me. Hopefully I've got the right next move. Number 1 is in the matter of the adoption of rules and regulations to implement the provisions of 26 Del Code Chapter 10 relating to the creation of a competitive market for retail electric supply service. And we have it's like, what's that game? Whack-a-mole. We have regulation docket number 49 before us once again. So we're going to consider the proposed revisions to regulation docket number 3001, and Ms. Workman is going to explain it all to us.
Thank you. This is the public hearing for that regulation. I'll skip most of the dates, but we opened the regulation, we held workshops, and we published the regulations as proposed. And today we're having the hearing. The public notice was posted on the website and in the Register of Regulations, and staff received one written comment from Delmarva Power. I forgot to mention, this is the third-party supplier regulation that we amended as a result of studies that were done about the confusion over high bills last winter. And so one of the recommendations was to make the third-party supplier rules more consumer-friendly, and that's what we are trying to do with these amendments. Delmarva Power and Light Company submitted a comment that was attached to the agenda, and I believe you all were able to review that beforehand. At this time, I would like to invite any members of the public who have come today to comment on the proposed regulation to step forward and share their comments with the commission.
The record should reflect that there was not a great rush of people to the front. As a matter of fact, no one at all came forward.
Thank you. Seeing no one, pursuant to 29 Delaware Code 10118, the public comment period will remain open for an additional 15 days, and written comments will be accepted by the commission. Any discussion from the commission regarding the public comments is going to take place after the public comment period closes at another commission meeting. The soonest meeting that would be at would be the first meeting in December. That concludes the public hearing for this regulation. And with the commission's permission, we can just roll into the public hearing for Regulation 3012.
One point of clarification question, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Workman, does your last statement mean that the comments from Delmarva, as well as other comments, will be taken up at a different meeting?
Yes, so the discussion for
Yes.
for the commissioners to consider making amendments. So we have the proposed amendments, and then we receive this comment, and so we can make further amendments to our initial proposal. And then we would have to republish and hold another public hearing if we choose to make more amendments to our original amendments.
Okay, so let me see if I can ask the question a little more succinctly. So the comments made by Delmarva will or will not be taken into account before we meet again to discuss comments?
They will not be taken into account until we meet again.
Okay, that's what the clarification I was looking for. But they will have the opportunity to be considered when we take this matter up again.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, next one is the hearing schedule. We have number one is in the matter of the adoption of rules and regulations to implement the.
I believe we're on number
Oh, no,
two, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. In the matter of the adoption of regulations for net energy metering to implement the provisions of 26 Del Code Section 1014 as amended. And I guess we have Ms. Workman again.
Ms. Workman again. Regulation 3012, we are seeking to amend those in accordance with Senate Bill 175 and to expand technical options for customers through meter adapters. We published this, and today is the public hearing for this. The public notice was posted on the website and published in the Register. Staff received one written comment from industry members that was given to the commissioners beforehand. Generally, that was supporting the proposal for meter collar adapters. And if anyone would like to give public comment on this proposed regulation, now is the time to do so.
The record should reflect that no one came forward in response to the invitation to give public comment on this matter?
The public comment period will remain open for an additional 15 days, where the commission will still be accepting written comments. And then, once again, any discussion regarding those public comments will happen at a later meeting. That concludes the public hearing for Regulation 3012. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Workman. Mr. Hardigan.
Thanks, Chairman Winslow. Our next meeting will be November 19th.
Best presentation all day. We're adjourned.